Hey, Home Service team, we're here to talk to you about the wall we built for this measure training. This is one of actually two walls that some of you may be getting. For the Northeast and Midwest markets, you'll actually all be getting this wall, okay? For the Southeast and Southwest and Western markets, you're actually going to get two walls. You're going to get this wall, okay? And then you're going to get another wall with showing two different types of installation applications. So the wall we're going to talk about today is the wood window wall, okay? So what you're going to see is we have multiple pieces that come with this wall, okay? You actually have, you're going to get two Anderson windows, okay? Two Anderson windows are going to come with this wall. One casement, one tilt wash. You're also going to have the actual traditional old wood window, okay, that's going to come with this wall. And you'll see how all this works together. But right now, this is the pieces to the puzzle. Another piece is the exterior to this wall. If you notice on the wall, you have what appears to be studs, okay, and an exterior facing. So what we're going to have is two actual exterior walls that you can put on top of this to simulate two different types of applications. Now obviously there's going to be multiple different applications that they may run into in the region. But for this scenario and for this training session, we're really only going to show two types of wood exterior: brick mold and one by. Okay? So, and you're going to see how those work, but that's your two exterior facings. Okay? Now, I'm going to spin this wall around, and you're going to see how those work in just a minute. But I really want to give you an idea of the interior now. I just showed you the exterior. Now you're going to have the interior. So, on these two walls, they're really interchangeable with the interior. Okay? Two different types of trim. So you have the one on my right is actually a cased, right? So you have just casing only. So this would actually go up on the wall like this and cover the outside. And we're going to show you how that works in a minute. You also have one that simulates an actual windowsill, okay? A stool. So you have a cased opening, and then you have a window stool opening. All right? Now, let's show you how this thing works, okay? So when you get the wall, it's actually not going to be disassembled like we did today. I'm going to spin it back around for everyone. All right, so you have the exterior facings is actually gold on the wall. And when you get it, it's actually going to be already on there for you, so I'm going to show you how it goes on. So the exterior trim of both of these walls are designed to come off. Okay, and you're going to see why in just a minute. So we're going to take the brick mold exterior off. We're going to take this wall and we're going to put it on the face of the rolling section. Alright, so you notice it's got two handles, right, to hold the wall up. One thing that you may or may not have noticed is there's actually, I know you probably can see that. If you look at the wall itself, it's actually got some little hinge pins here. If you look at the back of this wall, you'll see that they just kind of sit on top. And it's really a lot easier than you think, because it really fits kind of like a glove. So you take the exterior wall and you lift it up, set it into the opening like this, boom. It just sits right down on top there. Now you actually have your vinyl siding showing where the trim would be, right? We'd say brick mold trim, and your buck.
Thanks, Scotty.
All right, so that's the exterior wall going on. Now we're going to show you that after the exterior wall goes on, you can actually put in your traditional wood window that's going to come with this wall. So, just set the bottom in, and the top in, and what you're going to notice, you know, there's no shims. The whole idea is really to help them understand the gaps that you're going to see in between the frame and the actual studs, okay? And the exterior facing, how it all comes together on a traditional wood window. So as designed, there are some actual pin holes that are designed to hold these screws. So you line it up. One in there. The other one. Okay. And you don't have to snug them up real tight right now because you really want to get all four of them in first. So you're going to take this bottom sash out. Okay. To be able to apply these bottom screws. Then I just kind of gauge, when you get the wall, it'll be a little more centered up. Just kind of gauge the gap around the sides, right, to simulate that gap that you see. If you were to take the trim off your house. All right. So now, you actually see the exterior of this wall. Okay, you have the traditional wood window. Okay. You have the blind stop, right? Then you have the actual exterior sheathing of the house, where the brick mold, we removed the brick mold, and now you can see the actual exterior sheathing, and then you have the vinyl siding, okay? So now that the window's in the opening, you kind of get the idea of how it works. This will actually go right back on top. Grab the drill. Screw. I'm not handy, so I'm going to start on the right. Same thing with this exterior trim. It's got pre-drilled holes that you would put these screws right back into. You know, it's not regular drywall screws, obviously. It's really designed just to simulate it coming on and off. All right? All right. Now, with the window unit in the opening, you can actually see how it all plays together, right? You have the vinyl siding that butts up against the brick mold, and then the brick mold actually attaches directly to the facing of an old traditional wood window. And then your blind stop here kind of shows you that detail of the old traditional wood window. So if you go backwards a little bit, you can understand how we take that stop off, that brick mold off. It'll expose your opening and your blind stop. Okay? Now, another thing you'll notice is that the vinyl siding comes all the way up to the bottom of the window. This is your bull nose of the sill, right? All right. Now we're going to talk about the interior of this wall. Spin this around for you. Good. Put the sash back in. Okay, so now you have the interior. So you have two options. You can see the gap in between it. This is really designed to simulate the rough opening around a traditional wood window. All right? So right now the interior trim is off. So we have two options like I told you before. You have just the casing itself, and then you have a casing with the window stool. So we're going to do the casing with the window stool. Right? Most old wood windows usually have a stool. So we're just going to use this as an example. So basically take the casing, you know, the curved edge is out, the detailed edge out, obviously. Have your screws nearby when you're starting to put this stuff on. So you actually have somebody from the class as we go through the training. You can pull somebody up front with you and obviously hold this up, or if you've got some associates there with you going through this training to show you, help you hold this on while you put it all together. So, getting started. All right, like I said before, now we got this casing on. We have the window stools there, right? Don't have to drill these in so hard. It's really just for simulation purposes only. So now you actually have a complete window. There's one thing that we're missing. The stops, right? So with this unit, you're going to have two sets of stops. All right, so you have your jam stops and your head jam stop, right? The head jam stop is going to be the same, so you're only going to get one of those, all right? The side jams, you're going to have two different lengths. Okay, one for the stool, because the stool obviously has got to be shorter to get from here to here, right? And if you have a cased opening, the stool goes away, which means you need a longer one to touch the end. So you're going to get two sets with this wall, with every wall. So we'll just find out which one's the right one. There. Good. All right, so we put our head one in first. All right, it's detailed out, flat part on the back. Right one first, and we'll do the top. Do the left. Okay, it's easier if you go in a circle. These are all magnetized stops, so it's really easy to get them on and off, no drilling or anything like that. So now you actually have a finished wood window appearance, right? So you have the interior trim with the pine stool. And you have the exterior, like we talked about, with the brick mold. Now, how many of you want to see it with the flat trim? All right. So one thing to keep in mind is in order to get this wall off, you got to take the trim off, right? And you actually got to take this window out to get this wall off. Okay, makes sense? So we're going to do this again. We're just going to undress it. This trim comes right off. See how easy that is? Okay, so now we have the exterior trim off. We need to take the window out. So we need to take the interior casing back off, right? So we just took the brick mold off. Now we got to take the interior casing off in order to get this window out. Okay. Okay, so we're going to take we took the brick mold off. Now we're going to take the casing off that has a stool on it, because the window won't lift out of the opening with the casing and the stool on. Now, once we put the casing on that doesn't have the stool, you'll be able to take this window in and out without having to do that. Okay? So just one added step with the window stool. Take your stops off. Take your trim off. Okay? So now, interior and exterior trim are off. Now you can take the window out. So what we'll do is we'll take the bottom sash out. Okay? Many of you are familiar with the DIY box. You take that sash out and everything. So same type of situation. You have 4 screws in the jam. Alright, now the window can come out. Okay? Now the window's out. Set it right here for now. Now we're going to try to put this on the wall on. Alright? So, first thing you want to do is make sure that the trim is off. Because remember what I said, you need to have the trim off really to get the wall on anyway. So if it comes with the trim already attached, just take it off before you go to put the wall on, because the screws might interfere and it may not sit well. Okay? Comes right off, right? So, don't forget to use the bends. You know, as you're taking this wall apart, you have these parts and pieces coming loose like the stops. An easy way to keep up with them is to use the bends that we're going to ship with these things. They are removable bends. I'll show you real quick while I'm on this subject. They're removable, okay? So each side can come off, and they're held on with just a flat piece of metal, a curved piece of metal. So that way you can get it through the doorway, all right? Makes sense? This thing is shorter and thinner than your average 36 by 80 doorway. Okay? It sits right back on there. And it does really good about not coming off. Okay? All right, so we've got the trim off the new wall that's going to go on here. You still got the handles like we talked about. If you're doing this by yourself, like if you got a small group of, say, 10 or 15, you can do this by yourself, just like that. The handles make it real easy. However, you may need 2 people, 1 on each side. Make it a lot easier for you. Okay? So we just took this wall off. We're going to put this wall on. Same type of wall, right? You get it, clip here, clip there, clip on the other side. Okay? Handles in the same spot. Just sits right on there. Okay? So now you have your 1x exterior wall in place, and you can kind of put it back together, right? Because we're going to show you a different application. So after the wall's put on, we said what goes back in? The window, right? By the way, when you're putting this in, and a mistake that I've made before, you got to make sure your slope still faces outward. Okay? So, that way you know you're putting it in right. Especially when you're giving the training. And like I said, keep your screws close by. That will help you. So, remember when you put this thing back together, don't over tighten because you really need to kind of space the difference on each side. So, rough opening, just throwing this out there, rough opening on each side should be about 1/4 inch. Okay? You don't have to measure it, just eyeball it, because when you put it all back together, it's going to look pretty good. Okay? So, just try to keep the same distance on each side. good to me. All right, so we've got our screws back in. Now we can put the exterior trim back on, all right? So the exterior trim for this one is the 1x, right, or 5/4 board, right? So typical application for many areas. Okay, really just fits right back in there, snug actually, right? So, you know, be careful, could pop out on you, all right? You don't want to be that person that gets hit in the head with your own display. Just snug it up, and like I said before, you don't have to do it real tight because it's just simulated. Okay. All right. Now you have the 1x trim on the exterior. You know, the blind stop is exactly the way it looks on a traditional application like this. So you have the sill, right? The bullnose that comes outside. 1x trim all the way around outside. Blind stop, sashes. Okay? Now, once you have the exterior set, you go back on the inside, right? You put your sash back in. Very similar to the way we do with our DIY boxes. Okay? Then you go ahead and, because we're going to use the cased opening, right, instead, you can actually go ahead and put your stops back on first. Now, what I say about the stops, you really need to make sure you're using the right one, right? So, there's a big difference. So if you take a look at this, so if you go back and you grab the ones you just used for the stool, it's going to be shorter and it's not going to look right. Okay? So make sure you grab the right one, right, that fits into this hole. Okay? There's that one. Okay? Make sure that's the right one. That's the right one for there. Remember we said the head stop is actually the same one for both. There. Now, okay, got your stops back on. This is the easiest part here. Take these here, pull them away. Okay. Now, casing goes right back in the same spot. Right? Get my screws together. Oops. It's easier when you have a two-man crew. Started. Get them started. All right. Just snug it. Okay, so now you have your casing on the interior. We just showed you the stool casing. Now you have your 1x exterior and your brick mold exterior that we showed you. And this is how the wall works. Okay? So during this presentation, when you do the training, you're actually going to do the things that I just showed you. All right? We're going to put together how to do it, when to do it, that type of stuff. You're also going to use the Anderson windows that we're sending in with this project to replace this old traditional window, and you're going to understand how it works.